What's going on, fight fans? It's your host Sebastian, and welcome back to the Boxing Tip. Now, I've been kind of looking at this for the last couple days, and I don't know, maybe I'm not understanding it fully, but I'm getting a little frustrated about this situation. And it's the situation with, kind of revolving around Kell Brook and what he's gonna do. Is he gonna fight Errol Spence Jr., who is his IBF mandatory, or is he gonna take on fellow countryman Amir in what would be a big money fight in the UK, or just a big money fight period? Personally, I don't like the fact that Amir and Kell Brook are even talking about a fight. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but that's just my preference. It's not so much that I don't like the idea of the fight happening. I would, under different circumstances. The reason being is, Errol Spence Jr., he's a very good welterweight. He's been getting a lot of praise. A lot of people look up to him, think he's the next big thing. You know what I'm saying? As the next big American boxer. And, I agree. I agree that he is a very good boxer and that he has a chance to really have this coming out into, being one of the very top welterweights out there. I think he has the skill to be. I just don't think he has, the fights to prove it just yet. His last fight with Leonard Bundu, I'm not going to really factor in Bundu's age, being that he is still a pretty, he's a real tricky boxer. But Spence dispatched him, knocked him out in brutal fashion. So, Spence is looking pretty promising. But, in my opinion, he still has more to do for me to consider him to be at the very top of the welterweight division. But it's definitely not out of the question. But what frustrates me more is that, alright, he is Kell Brook's mandatory. Kell Brook said he wasn't going to vacate and he was going to fight Spence. But now I'm seeing articles or posts about Eddie Hearn discussing a matchup between Kell Brook and Amir Khan, which in a way I guess makes sense financially. To me, it just doesn't really say much about the welter. I don't know, I just don't really care for that fight as of right now. I would much prefer seeing Kell Brook going up against Errol Spence Jr. and defending his title. And see, the thing is Kell Brook, man, he's only made one serious move recently in his career that kind of really put him on to the, the more mainstream shit of, kind of the more mainstream scene of things that are going on in boxing right now. And that was him calling off the deal or calling off negotiations with Jesse Vargas, and then going up and fighting Gennady Golovkin, getting knocked out and then getting his orbital bone broken in the process. Now, I know he's coming off of an injury. There hasn't really been any discussions about him fighting any lesser opposition to kind of get back into the feel of things at 147 pounds. So we know that at least publicly he's not really looking in that direction. It seems to be that his two choices are fight Errol Spence Jr. and defend his title, because Errol Spence Jr. is his mandatory, and I'm pretty sure the IBF already scheduled a purse bid for the fight. And I've been seeing things that Eddie Hearn's been saying, well, it's going to be a 75-25 split, which is cool. That's usually that's pretty much every sanctioning body's purse split is for a mandatory, fighting the champion. So I think Errol Spence Jr. and, his advisor Al Heyman are, aware of that. I don't know if they're going to try to do more of like a Daniel Jacobs thing where they're trying to get him more than the 25%. I don't really know if that's going to happen or not, but it doesn't seem like they mind as of right now. I think they're fully aware of what the purse split is going to be. I think they're more so banking on Errol Spence Jr. beating Kell Brook instead of Kell Brook vacating and giving him the title, because him knocking out Kell Brook means a lot more for his stock. You know what I'm saying? If he can beat Kell Brook, I don't really see a clear winner yet, but I'm sure if the fight gets made, I'll definitely have my pick for that fight. But what I'm saying is, I think not Kell Brook. I think Errol Spence is hoping that he gets the fight, to have an opportunity to beat Kell Brook, because it does more for him in the future when it comes to him making more money or getting bigger fights made, you know what I'm saying? And it would, if Kell Brook vacates and gives Errol Spence Jr. the belt, then that's kind of shitty. It doesn't really, Errol Spence Jr. inherits a belt, but doesn't really do much for him as far as boxing fans watching him, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure boxing fans would much rather see Kell Brook and Errol Spence Jr. fight and see if Errol Spence Jr. has what it takes to beat one of the top welterweights and one of the welterweight title holders. And I think that would be the more productive thing for his career, not just inheriting the title, and then skipping out on a big fight for Errol Spence Jr. It'd probably give him an extra bargaining chip for other opponents, but it doesn't really raise his stock so much with the fans watching it. You know what I'm saying? At least not in my opinion. I don't see that being the case. I see it would be a much more productive thing for Errol Spence Jr. to fight Kell Brook, or Kell Brook to fight Errol Spence Jr., to give Errol Spence Jr. a chance to really show what he's got. But from what it seems like, I'm not sure that's really going to happen. I really thought Kell Brook would fight Errol Spence Jr., but the way things are kind of, from the information that's out there right now, it's not looking like that's going to happen. It's more so looking like Kell Brook and Eddie Hearn are looking at Amir Khan more than they are looking at Errol Spence Jr. It might be the situation might be different. I'm not too sure. Like I said, I don't have that information. If I could talk to these guys personally and they don't lie to me and tell me exactly what's going on, then fuck, that'd be the shit, because at least now I would have a lot more clarification on the situation. Now, Amir Khan, he just lost to Saul Canelo Alvarez by, bad knockout, and then injured his hand, and I guess he had like 2 surgeries on his hand, and he's had the injury for so long now, he just never got it taken care of. But the thing about Amir Khan is he's the mandatory right now for Danny Garcia's belt. Errol Spence Jr. and Timothy Bradley were ordered by the WBC for a title eliminator for the WBC belt, and the winner would have to fight Amir Khan to establish that number 1 mandatory position for Danny Garcia's belt. And so that's another option for Errol Spence Jr. And honestly, if I don't know how badly he wants to fight Kell Brook, I'm not too sure. Like, if he has like just a burning desire to fight him, it doesn't really matter or he just really wants that IBF title. I'm not too sure what Errol Spence Jr.'s motives are, but he does have another option in fighting Timothy Bradley, which would set him up for a fight with Amir Khan, making him basically in position to fight both Kell Brook and Amir Khan. So maybe it can, you could throw a little twist like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure the IBF doesn't, I don't know how they work. I'm not too familiar with the IBF, but I'm pretty sure I've, read things where they don't really allow step-aside deals or voluntary defenses, voluntary title defenses. So, if they did somehow, I can see maybe like a kind of like a mini little tournament thing going on where Errol Spence Jr. could fight Timothy Bradley for the title eliminator, and Kell Brook and Amir Khan fight, and then the winners of those 2 fights can fight, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's for the IBF title or the number 1 mandatory position for Danny Garcia's belt to put him in a spot to get that title, depending on how it all goes down. But I really don't like the fact that the attention seems to be more on Kell Brook and Amir Khan. Like, for the UK fans, man, I totally get it, you know what I mean? It makes sense. But Kell Brook going up and fighting Gennady Golovkin instead of staying at his weight class, it was a bold move. It was a brave move, I give him credit for that, and he did okay in the fight, but other than money, I don't see any other reasoning for him to do that. You know what I'm saying? And other than money, I don't really see him having like the best reason to fight Amir Khan. It doesn't seem like it's sportsmanship, like it's motivated by the love for the sport. It seems like Kell Brook's more motivated by the love of making money fights, and maybe he got the Sean Porter fight, fought a couple of mandatories, didn't really make too much. Maybe he was desperate to make some cash, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know exactly what Kell Brook's motives are either, but it's seeming like he's more of a money-motivated fighter than, other welterweights are, I guess. But I mean, I'm sure every fighter is money motivated. I mean, they like making money for the, they want to get paid for, what they do inside of the ring. Totally understood. Totally understand. But when you're starting to make fights that don't really make, like, when you're kind of starting, you got a title, so you have some sort of an obligation there. So when you're starting to make fights that don't really commit to your obligations that you have being a title holder, and making voluntary defenses against fighters for the money, it kind of is a little shitty for Errol Spence Jr. I think Errol Spence Jr., he did what he's supposed to do. He fought his way through the rankings of the sanctioning body to become the #1 mandatory. He put in all that hard work. I think he deserves that title shot. Amir Khan, coming off of a knockout loss to Canelo Alvarez, he's a very money-motivated fighter too. That's the one thing Kell Brook and Amir Khan have in common, is that they make fights that really make more sense for their own pockets than it does really for the sport. But this is just my opinion, guys. I'm just kind of speculating here. I'm more so just trying to, raise some questions as to what's kind of going on in the situation. Nothing I say, obviously, is what, the absolute truth, because I don't know these guys personally. I don't know this. I'm not involved in the situation, so I don't really have any of the real truth. I'm just kind of speculating here on what ifs or what could be or why they might be trying to do this stuff. Just kind of want to clear the air on that one before I get any further in the video. But like I was saying, Amir Khan seems like a more money-motivated fighter as well. He wanted the Floyd Mayweather fight. We all know why he wanted the Floyd Mayweather fight. I don't really think he believed he could beat him. I think more so he just wanted to get that Maidana cash out and retire, possibly, or something. I don't know. Maybe not retire, but get that Maidana cash out for sure. And then, fighting Canelo Alvarez, probably the next biggest name or star other than Manny Pacquiao. He wanted the Manny Pacquiao fight. You know what I'm saying? He wants big money fights. I don't think he really wants to compete at the guys who are, at an equal level as him. I think he wants to shoot straight for, like, superstardom, which, yeah, I mean, if you want that kind of cash, bro, I don't have any issues with that. But you know what I'm saying? When there's a potential very competitive match with Errol Spence Jr. and Kell Brook, and you're starting to kind of get in, get in the mix of that situation, man, it kind of, like, to me, I feel like there's this just fucking confusion going on here, man. Like, who is gonna fight who, and then you guys do all this shit and then probably end up fighting somebody else. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like that. If it's being that this is all these fighters and fights have to do with the welterweight division, let's see some welterweight shit go down. You know what I'm saying? Like, in the top rankings of the welterweight division, or between the top fighters, I want to see some top welterweight shit go down. I want to see if Errol Spence Jr. deserves the praise that he's getting. I praise him for what he does in the ring, but I'm not necessarily sold on whether he can do that shit against, top level welterweights. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that he can't. I just don't know if he can or not. I want to fucking see it. I like Errol Spence Jr. I want to see that shit. I like Kell Brook. I want to see if, he deserves to be at the top. He beat Sean Porter. That was about, that was his most significant win, obviously. And he's beat a couple of mandatories as well, so that's not, that's not necessarily a bad thing. People who earned their title shot or got into the position to have a title shot, he gave them that opportunity. But why is it taking so fucking long to give Errol Spence that opportunity? And then why is your promoter in the talks with one of your countrymen for making this big money fight? I'm not saying that he's scared of Errol Spence Jr. or anything, but if there's already talks about him vacating and him fighting Amir Khan, then if he vacates, then it's like the Canelo situation in a way, you know? Why the fuck would you vacate? Why wouldn't you beat this undefeated contender? You know, if you can beat him, fight him, beat him. And I would say that says a lot more about you than beating Amir Khan. You know what I'm saying? I think that says a lot more about Kell Brook if he beats Errol Spence Jr. rather than beating Amir Khan, who just came off of a knockout loss and an injury. But I guess Kell Brook is coming off of an injury as well. Maybe that's what he's trying to do. Maybe he's not trying to get in there with someone as dangerous as Errol Spence Jr. because he's worried about his injury. Like Antonio Margarito, he got the eye injury against Manny Pacquiao and was never he was never the same. And he was never the same from then. You know what I'm saying? That's a serious injury, but at the same time, if you got the go ahead and start fighting again, you know, fucking pick up where you should have left off, you know what I'm saying? Or pick up on a good note, you know what I'm saying? But I guess financially any fight other than Errol Spence makes sense, or the high risk, low reward shit. I don't like that. I really personally, I understand it, I guess, from a business perspective, but you're in a sport, you know what I'm saying? Other sports don't get to pick and choose what teams they want to fucking face. Or, you know, basketball, like I've used this before, basketball doesn't get to choose who their schedule is going to be. Football doesn't choose who their schedule is going to be. If they have to face the number one team in the NFL, you know what I'm saying, and they know they're probably going to get a for sure L, but they don't have a choice to turn down that fucking game. They don't have the choice to turn down that football game. So I guess we'll see. I mean, if the IBF is really strict on this Kell Brook and Errol Spence Jr. matchup, then maybe Kell Brook is going to have to deal with that first before having to deal with Amir Khan. But if Kell Brook and Eddie Hearn are more focused on Amir Khan rather than Errol Spence Jr., then I guess they have no choice. But if they don't want to take the fight, then they don't want to take the fight. If they're just trying to set up for something after Errol Spence Jr., then, I mean, I guess that's cool, but still fight Errol Spence Jr. You know what I'm saying? You should still fight him. But like I said, I'm not really saying that Kell Brook is scared or anything, or he doesn't want the fight. You know, it may be the truth, it may not be the truth. I'm not exactly sure. But all I can say is this. Amir Khan is already worried about Errol Spence Jr. beating Kell Brook if they have, you know what I'm saying, if they have the fight made, or if, you know, it goes to the purse bid and everything else, or if, you know, they make the fight happen. He's worried Errol Spence Jr. is going to beat Kell Brook. Amir Khan is only worried about, in my opinion, Errol Spence Jr. beating Kell Brook because it takes away from the money that he would make if he were to face Kell Brook. It takes away the significance of that matchup. And I'm pretty sure if Errol Spence Jr. beats Kell Brook, if they fight, Amir Khan is not going to want to try to fight Errol Spence Jr. for his IBF title if he wins against Kell Brook. I think he'll go straight back to calling Manny Pacquiao or Danny Garcia for a rematch. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I don't really know exactly what's going on in the situation. All I know is that I want to see a fucking good matchup. I don't really care for Amir Khan and Kell Brook going up against each other. That's just me personally. I mean, I'm pretty sure it makes for a very good fight. I just don't really care to see it. I would much rather see Kell Brook versus Errol Spence Jr., being that Errol Spence Jr. is mandatory, and that Errol Spence Jr. poses more of a threat to Kell Brook than Amir Khan, in my opinion. So I guess it's a wait and see thing. I don't like that it's taking so fucking long for shit to kind of come to fruition. I don't really like that they're talking about another fight when they have such a dangerous opponent in line for his title. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. If anybody knows more about this subject, please hit me up in the comment section, or if you have your own channel, make a video about it. You know, give me some clarification. If you have any like any insider knowledge, I guess, you know, if you're plugged that way, you know, make a video about it and then share your thoughts, because I'd definitely like to know more. These are just kind of thoughts that are running through my head. Like I said, nothing that I say about this video is really set in stone or is what it is. it's just more of a what if, or it could be, or it might not be. You know what I'm saying? But let me know what you guys' thoughts, man. Share the video with your boxing homies. Subscribe to the channel. Introduce somebody to boxing. 2017 is here. I hope everybody had a safe and enjoyable New Year's. And I will talk to you guys on the next one. Peace.